Greetings and blessings, greetings and blessings. Welcome to Caribbean Vanguard. Welcome to Caribbean Vanguard. Now in today's video, I'm going to talk about this back and forth between two men who was arguing about who can and who cannot be a Rasta. Now, it has nothing to do with Rasta. To be clear, this video is really not to do with Rasta. It has more to do with what's happening here in this situation, because this situation presents itself in different forms over and over again. So it's really not so much about Rasta, but the situation. And you will understand as we go along. So whether you are Rasta or not, there are value to take away from this. It's important to point out that one of the men is a Negroid and the other man is Caucasian. And you will understand why that is important as well as you go along. Also, so that the video is not too long, I decided to break it down. So in this first video, I am only going to present the first argument, which is of the Negroid man. And his reasoning is based on the idea that everyone cannot be Rastas. With that, let us get into the video. So he started off like this, saying that Marcus Garvey, who is the main founder of the Rasta movement, did not have dreadlocks, he did not smoke weed, and reggae music did not exist at the time. Now, Marcus Garvey would be considered more like, if not the roots, the trunk, and the Rasta movement branched off of that, because Leonard Howell, who is the man who actually started the Rasta movement in the 1930s, and his story is very interesting. I may talk about it in a future video. Leonard Howell was around Marcus Garvey. He took on a lot of the philosophy. He liked the idea of a king in Ethiopia, and he actually really took that Selassie idea and planted it into his Rasta movement. But in addition to that, he also had that formula that Marcus Garvey used to create cohesiveness amongst the people. So one of the things Marcus Garvey said was this, and Rasta movement actually had this in their original formation. Marcus Garvey said, as the Jew is held together by his religion, comma, the white races by the assumption and the unwritten law of superiority, the Mongolian by the precious tie of blood, likewise the black man must unite in one grand racial hierarchy. Our union must know no clime, no nationality. And the reason I'm emphasizing nationality, because we have totally neglect everything, many of us, what Marcus Garvey and those guys say. And nationality is one of those things that's keeping us divided today. That's one of the things. Somebody drew lines and say, hey, this is your boundary. And then we start feeling a certain way about everyone who does not live within that boundary or is from those boundaries that were put in place by someone. Anyway, let's continue with Marcus Garvey's speech. But let us all hold together in every country, in every climate, making a racial empire upon which the sun shall never rest. Okay, before I continue, please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. You can even send me an email. I will read it. I would like your feedback if you have any. Okay, that's fine. I'll make sure to respond respectfully. All right. Also, there will be part 2. I think I mentioned it earlier. There will be part 2 and maybe part 3 to this video. And in part 2, I will present to you the Caucasoid man's reasoning, and he's actually attacking coming after this gentleman for writing this article. And he has an interesting perspective as well. Alright, let's continue. What Rasta has become today is simply a shell of what it used to be. When the term Rasta comes up, the first thing that comes to people's minds are dreadlocks, marijuana, reggae music. Is that true? Is that the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear Rasta? I believe that's the case. I've heard people talk about Rasta movement. I've asked folks about it, and most people, when you travel around the world, that's what it is. You see the dreadlocks, you see the marijuana, you hear them listening to reggae music, but when you hear their reasoning, their discussion is something totally different. And I get it, the climate is not the same. To continue. He said, how did marijuana, dreadlocks, and reggae become the essence of Rasta, or the essence of Rasta? So he asked himself a question, which I think is very clever. That's the way to find things out. And he answered his own question by saying, the reason why marijuana, dreadlocks, and reggae has become the essence of Rasta is because those are the things that white people find to be cool and inviting about Rasta. Those things does not make one a Rasta, and whites are not Rastas. In fact, a white Rasta is an oxymoron, he said. And he continued, a child of an oppressor will claim that he stands against his parents, but he will never truly fight against his parents. If black people believe that these white Rastas will help them in their fight for freedom, liberty, and justice, they will wait from now to eternity and never see that happen. Only Rastas can liberate the black nation, and only blacks can be Rastas. He continued by saying, the sellout black Rastas who claim that anyone can be a Rasta are insulting Marcus Garvey and disregarding his teachings. No one with common sense can read the teachings of Marcus Garvey and still believe that he started the movement for blacks and whites. The movement was started to address the problems that the black people face, whether they are scattered in the West or back home in Africa. Look out for the next video, in which I will present to you a Caucasite man reasoning as to why anyone can be a Rasta.